Okay, I have. This is an episode. This is an interesting episode to me because I don't know. So, like I said, so how remember how I said in the last one with Toadstool how the whole majority of the episode was focusing on Toadstool, like the open with Toadstool, they were focusing on him kind of as like the main character. That's what they do for this episode. And I'm not saying it was bad. Like it just felt weird. It felt weird to focus solely on a side character. I mean, they even make a joke later on in the episode with like there's a moment where the crazy stuff is going on, and then they pan to the planter house where Anne and Sprig are there, and then and they're watching a show, and Sprig's like, "You ever?" Sprig's like, "You think the audience would? You think the audience would be bothered by the fact that the main characters aren't in this episode?" And Anne's like, "Nah." God. Yeah, but I mean that's basically what this episode is, because if I really think about it, I think that's the only scene where Sprig and Anne are in this entire episode. It's kind of weird. But okay, so again, I don't think this is a bad episode, so let's just get right into it. So it's Maddie. This is episode 36B of Amphibia, Maddie and Marcy. Honestly, from that title alone, that's a pretty exciting combination because, you know, Maddie, because I feel like Maddie would be an interesting person for Marcy to hang out with because she is into magic, she's into curses, and I feel like Marcy would be very into that as well. And and my assumption was correct when they actually run into each other, and you know, Marcy sees Maddie is conjuring magic, and it turns out Maddie's the only magic user, or at least from Utopia to Wartwood. I feel like a lot more people would be using magic, right? Okay, I don't know. So it doesn't start with that, however. It starts with Maddie in the woods. She's crafting this resurrection spell to bring a spider back to life, Frankenstein style. But she gets interrupted by her little sister, her sisters, who, yeah, it took me a second because I was like, wait, they're tadpoles. So the three tadpoles that Marcy met in New Wartwood, those are Maddie's sisters. So I like how we kind of got the introduction to them, even though we technically didn't know them. And so I like on this episode we do get to know them, and this is interesting because, okay, so I mean Maddie's name makes sense. I mean Maddie's name, Maddie. It's a nice name. I know a lot of girls named Maddie. But it's so for her sisters, they're named Rosemary, Ginger, and Lavender. Very specific. Yeah, so they're from what I picked up, they're triplets. They're tadpoles, and they want Maddie to play with them. They're, because they're like, well, come on, you promised you'd play with us today. And Maddie's like, I don't have time. I gotta craft this spell, and I don't craft this spell to bring this lady's pet tarantula back to life. And so it's like, okay. But obviously they're kids, so they don't really get that much about it. So they're really basically it's the story about the older sibling and the younger sibling. They used to spend a lot of time together, but then the older sibling started doing other things and forgot about the younger sibling, and thus they have kind of like a divide. There's a they kind of, the relationship kind of shifts apart a bit, and the episode is them about trying to them make amends, yada yada yada. I mean, again, I did not hate this episode. It's definitely, it's a weaker episode, and I say that in quote, and I say that in air quotes because, again, this is a pretty cool episode in terms of what they do with this magic, what they do with Maddie and Marcy. It's just with the the sisters subplot, or well, I mean, it's technically the main plot if I think about it. Yeah, so like what they do with the sisters was a little bit weird and interesting, but yeah, let's go into this. So Maddie basically tells them that after that they want, they say, okay, I'll play with you guys after I complete this spell. And on freaking cue, we have our time card trope, and this time it's 3 hours. And I'm like, 3 hours to make a spell? That's pretty freaking long. And so, of course, I'm surprised they even lasted 3 hours. But again, I get, I'm honestly, I honestly want a time card joke where they sit there and they like have like the time cards spew up, and then one of them be like, oh, we've been here for so long, and then one of the others like, really? I feel like we've only been here for a couple of seconds. Like that kind of fourth wall joke I would really like, but so the kids get the sisters get bored, and they try to have their own fun, and they accidentally mess up Maddie's potion and actually cause a tree to come to life, which was pretty creepy. And this is interesting because I thought one thing was gonna happen, but another thing happened. So when the tree comes to life, it starts attacking the floor, but then you cut to Marcy in the woods, like she's exploring, she's got her magnifying glass, she's checking a lot of things out. Then she hears the screaming in the distance, so she goes to help. And I thought, oh, she's gonna save him, and Maddie's gonna see her skills and be impressed or something. But no, actually, Maddie actually deals with the tree herself. She's able to handle it, and then she snaps at her sisters, which, and she's mad, and she obviously, I mean, granted, if I worked on something for 3 hours only for it to be ruined by my siblings, I'd be kind of mad too. And yeah, I get it. So, but again, I don't know, it's weird, but she snaps at them and basically has them go off, and it's like, but you're so focused on your spells and being a magic and stuff. And Maddie's like, but Maddie's like, yeah, because that's important to me. Magic's important to me. And I'm like, yeah, well, you gotta also think about your siblings, right? Because, family is also important. And, of course, that's the other lesson of the episode. Being that, there's more things important than just your passions. There's also other things, like your family. Your family's just as important because they're your freaking family. So, yeah. Okay, so after all that is out of the way, when Maddie sends the 3 off, Marcy comes in, and she notices that Maddie is a magic user, and she gets super excited, and Maddie is rather intrigued to see someone who's actually into it. She's like, usually when I talk about magic and curses, people just run away in fear. And then Marcy's like, well, I'm running towards you in excitement. And so basically the two start working together, and and again, I really like the way they work off each other. They're very, it would make sense that these two characters would work with each other, because their characters, how they would interact with one another. Yeah, but it's funny enough, if you looked at them like separately and you didn't know about their characters at all, you would be like, I don't know, would they really get along with one another? But yeah, so it seems like so all they have to gather all the things needed to make their resurrection spell, and that's part of the episode is them getting. Well, actually, no, not part of the episode is them getting that. They pretty much have a montage of them fetching everything, and so Marcy and Maddie, they go to Maddie's house, or the the bakery, basically the doughman. Yeah, I think it was Kevin Michael Richardson's house. I don't freaking. So, Maddie tells Marcy thank you for helping her out, and that she is glad that she really got something away from her sisters. But then Marcy asks her about her sisters, and well, wait. She's like, they are your sisters. Maybe you should try to actually make more time for them and stuff. Again, yeah, that makes sense. It's like, because yes, we do have our passions, we do have things that we need to do, But if we focus solely on those, we do lose track of everything else. You know, it's like, okay, sorry. I think about the quote from Ferris Bueller's Day Off a lot. Like, you know, life moves pretty fast, but unless you stop and look around, you might miss it. You know, because there's a lot of cool things that go on in life that you really can't. That if you miss, you may not get back. So, it's opportunities. You got to take You got to take opportunities. So, and in this case, the opportunity is spending time with your siblings, because when you get older, you might realize that you didn't get to do all the fun things that you would probably want to do with your siblings. So, yeah. But Maddie obviously isn't taking that. She once again says that magic's more important to her and all that. And of course, the triplets are they overhear all the whole thing, and so and Maddie's basically saying how they should probably grow. The reason why Maddie snaps at them also is the fact that she, in her mind, they're just acting like children, and that they should actually grow up. Yeah, again, that makes sense, you know, because it's like, you know, when you're at the point when you're kind of starting to become more of an adult, and your younger siblings are still kind of like kids. Yeah, makes sense. Sorry. I have my shots. If you're wondering, I have my shots. I'm vaccinated. So don't worry about this. But yeah, so the triplets hatch a plan to, you know, do something. And we do get a and yeah, pretty much like I said before with the Frankenstein style resurrection, that's basically what happens, because Maddie, they get in the outfits, you know, the Frankenstein outfits, and even like they even make the joke, it's alive, like they make that joke. But before that happens, Maddie catches the three. So in the middle of the night, the triplets stole her spell book, and this was kind of so basically what the triplets do is they take one of the spells in Maddie's book and brew it and make a spell so they grow bigger. If they just did that and Maddie snapped at them, I would get that, because, you know, they went into her room, they took her book, which is something private of hers, and they used it. That I would understand. But they took it a step further by actually they destroyed a couple of pages. They took crayons and started like smearing all over. I'm like, what? I'm like, come on. I mean, again, it was so. I mean, honestly, I was kind of on Maddie's side at that point. I'm like, you destroyed that, because it's not like a journal that has spells. This is a little spell book. It looks like whatever the spell book term is. It's like the journals from Gravity Falls. You know, it's like if someone took one of those and just smeared like a marker all over it. That's like, dude. So I really get why Maddie is just over it right now. Like, she really is over it. But then, and so she storms out and eventually meets up with Marcy in the woods. But the triplets, they make their spell, and this is where it gets kind of weird. So what happens in this is, instead of them becoming older, you know, like, because she said grow up, instead of them growing up into, like, actual frogs, they literally grow. Like, we get that. We get the, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids thing. Which, weird title for that movie. Really weird title for that movie, but... So basically, we eventually get 3 giant tadpoles growing around Wartwood. Which is... And a part of me... Well, I mean, in terms of physics, I get why their voices become very deeper the bigger they get. I mean, you can still hear, like, the little kids in them, but it's very deep. Like, Maddie! Maddie! It's like, it gets, and I feel like they kind of get a little delusional too, because they're like, let's play hide and seek, and it's like, what? I mean, yeah, so Maddie, you know, basically again, they find Maddie and Marcy have to go. They hide, and they're trying to, and of course Marcy is like, what the heck? What the heck did they do? And Maddie realizes that they used the growth spell because she told them to grow up, and so she put two and two together. But then she realized that the spell should have worn off at that point, and that they shouldn't have gotten that big. And so she realized that they didn't do the spell right. And it turns out if you don't do the spell right, for this spell in particular, you're gonna keep growing until you blow up. It's like, so we're going the Veruca Sol becoming a giant blueberry thing, except we might actually, I mean, I'm gonna like, no, it's Disney, we're not gonna see any tadpoles blow up. But yeah, so Maddie and Marcy have to quickly craft, well, Maddie tells Marcy that she needs to craft the antidote, while Marcy crafts the growth spell and becomes bigger herself to actually talk to her sisters, because as the sisters literally become, I don't know why, but I really got uncomfortable seeing this. Just the three of them, they get super big, like their veins start, you know, you see their veins starting to pop out, and it just looked very creepy. I don't know why. It just creeped me out. It was so weird. And of course they realize that, or they realize that they screwed up because they got so big that they're really terrified. And Maddie comes in as a giant and talks to them and tells them that she's sorry, and that she realizes in that moment that she understands she understands that she focused way too much on her magic, and that she should have been focusing on her sisters more. And then she eventually, you know, they make amends, she hugs them, and she even juggles them, which I thought was actually kind of cute. And then Marcy comes in and has the antidote ready and saves them. And then they again make amends. Again, like every episode, they make amends. Maddie, even Maddie's like, you deserve to yell at me, you deserve to attack me, give it to me. And so, but the sisters, they forgive her, and Maddie, and they all make amends, and Marcy's even like, oh, it's so cute. And so, yeah, so it's a touching episode, because again, I mean, you know, if anyone who has a sibling, especially if you're like in your late teens, or you know, you're an adult, and you think about those times when you were younger with your sibling, and maybe there were times where you could have spent time with them and you were doing something else, or vice versa, you know, it's like, you know, you really, because especially when you're an adult looking back on your freaking childhood, you're like, man, there were a few things that we did miss out on, didn't we? Because we thought at the time we would get it another chance, right? Or it was boring or stupid. Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like well, who am I kidding? I mean, for the most part, I thought my childhood was okay. I mean, school, I mean, it was pretty much school and sports, and yeah, school and sports. I mean, I had a blast in both. I mean, well, school for the most part was okay. Sports were pretty much my thing back in the time. I mean, sports is still my thing here in college, but obviously not for the college. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I still got time to see if I can make it here. All right, enough talk about that. But overall, I thought this was really cool. I thought this was a touching episode. I thought it was nice. I thought it was really cool seeing Maddie and Marcy work off each other. Again, though, with knowing that the temple episodes that we get after this are very close to one another in terms of the season, seeing how we have a 4-episode gap here, seeing how this was really the first episode and maybe the only episode that doesn't have the main characters in it, it just felt a little weird. Everything else, I really liked. So, I mean, I get why Anne and Sprig weren't here for it, because again, Maddie and Marcy together, that's a pretty cool combination, because we've already had Anne, Sprig, and Maddie together back in season 1. So for this, I was not surprised that we got this. So, but yeah, so, alright. That's all I got for this one. So, thank you all for watching. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next one.